Did you know that the movie Saw is actually based on a true story? Well, kind of. Saw is a 2004 horror film directed by James Wan and written by Leigh Whannell. The screenplay was written by Whannell, who co-created the story with Wan in their respective screenwriting debuts. The film was originally written in 2001, but after failed attempts to get the script produced in Australia, they were urged to travel to Los Angeles. In order to help attract producers, they shot a low-budget short film of the same name from a scene out of the script. This proved successful in 2003 as producers were immediately attached and also formed a horror genre production label, Twisted Pictures. The film was given a small production budget and was shot in 18 days. Saw was first screened at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival, and due to positive audience reception, Lionsgate picked up the distribution rights for the film. Originally planned for a straight-to-video release, they decided to instead release the film in theaters in North America on October 29, 2004. The film received mixed reviews from critics, but after topping the opening weekend box office, the film would go on to gross almost $104 million worldwide. The sequel, Saw 2, was released in October of 2005. The success of Saw launched a media franchise, including several films, video games, theme park rides, and merchandising. Now, where did the inspiration for this now 20-year-old film come from? How did two broke 20-year-olds from Australia think up such an iconic film series? Well, James Wan and Leigh Whannell met each other at film school in Australia and were the only ones there who loved horror films like Evil Dead, so they bonded over that. After finishing film school, Wan and Whannell wanted to write and fund a film together. To make it as doable as possible, they wanted to come up with an idea that was easy and cheap to film. The inspiration they needed came after watching two films, The Blair Witch Project and Pi. Wan and Whannell thought the cheapest script to shoot would involve two actors in one room. Whannell said, "So I actually think the restrictions we had on our bank accounts at the time, the fact that we wanted to keep the film contained, helped us come up with the ideas in the film. One idea was to have the entire film set with two actors stuck in an elevator and being shot from the point of view of security cameras. After their idea of two people in one room, it took them about a year to develop it further. James Wan came up with the initial idea of two guys waking up in a bathroom and there's a dead body in the middle of the room. They are trying to figure out why and how they are there. By the end of the film, they realize the person lying on the floor is not dead, and he is the reason they are locked in the room. After Wan told him this, Whannell called him back 10 or 30 minutes later and said that the title would be Saw. He knew this would be their movie because before Wan had called him, he had sketched the word Saw dripping with blood in his notebook. He knew it was what they should do. It was very serendipitous. After coming up with their idea, Whannell, as a scriptwriter, had to bridge the gap of the beginning and the end, which Wan had come up with, and figure out why and how everything in the film happened. Months later, when he was working at a job he was unhappy with, he began to have migraines. Convinced it was a brain tumor, Whannell went to a neurologist. I had an MRI, and it was such a weird experience to be just sitting there in the waiting area of a neurology ward, being nervous about getting an MRI. And that really was the impetus for the Jigsaw character. I started to think, what if you were given the news that you had a tumor and you were going to die soon? How would you react to that? So I started to imagine this character who had been given a time limit, who'd been told that he had a year, 2 years to live really, and that his condition would slowly kill him. Then I sort of attached that to the idea of somebody who put people in a literal version of that. Instead of a doctor telling you, you have a year to live, make the best of it, this guy would put people in a situation and say, you have 10 minutes to live. How are you going to spend those 10 minutes? Are you going to get out of it? I thought that would be a good way to capture the idea of why somebody would stick two people in this room and give them a time limit to get out. The second piece to the jigsaw puzzle, so to speak, was from a news broadcast that James Wan had seen when he was younger, specifically the way he forces his victims to mutilate themselves. Wan revealed he was inspired by a real-life criminal case he had heard about when he was 17. The case apparently involved a serial offender who broke into people's houses to tickle their children's feet, which made an impact on the Saw filmmaker. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever heard, Wan said. I was so frightened. I remember after hearing that story, I slept for the next 2-3 nights with a hammer by my bedside. The serial tickler was eventually caught, and Wan says that it was the offender's comments to the police that influenced the Jigsaw character. The cops interrogated him, and he said he didn't do this on his own. He did it because he was forced to do it, Wan revealed. Upon further research, Whannell discovered that the criminal had been sent a jigsaw piece telling him to do it. Whannell later explained that the tickler became the template for Michael Emerson's character Zepp Hindle, who Jigsaw forces to carry out horrific acts in the first Saw movie in order to make him look like the real killer. Hold on though, this gets weirder. Later, when they were promoting the first film, the Saw duo says that someone sent the crew a letter marked with a Jigsaw drawing that read, "Dear friends, I liked the film. Haha. I liked to see my work on screen. The actor playing me was very good. I have dark hair though. Hope to see more on screen. Should ask for some money. Haha." It's a horrifying end to a chilling story, but it also somehow makes Saw even creepier. And now, to round it all out, the least surprising part of all of this is that the Saw traps are based on medieval torture methods. Kevin Gruder, editor of the first 6 Saw movies and director of 3 others, including Saw 10, spoke about this in an interview with SFX magazine. Every year, when I've been told we're doing another shoot, I'm like, how do we do it? Because a lot of it starts with the script, but sometimes the traps and cells are very shorthand. In the script, sometimes they are just as they appear, but usually there are a lot of long meetings between assorted people. The writers, the production designer, the actors, where you just sit and hash through it, Gruder explained. I have lots of books on medieval torture machines and other dark stuff, and sometimes we just pour through it and shoot ideas off of each other. Some of the traps have evolved quite a lot from how they started, and then you have to think about how to actually pull it off. I was very nervous about some of the things that we did. Nervous on a safety level, and nervous thinking it was just going to look ridiculous. After combining these 3 things, the serial tickler that Juan had heard about, Whannell's idea during the MRI, and medieval torture devices, it took Whannell about 9 months to finish the first draft of the script. He got it to Juan a few hours before he flew to see family for Christmas on a long flight. Juan read it on the plane and loved it. The duo then spent another year with Australian producers and then went to America to find someone to buy the film. They shot a 5-minute scene, the bear trap scene, from the script before going to LA to show the people in Hollywood that they were serious. That scene, along with a very well-written script, a low budget, drawings of the set, costumes, and other ideas, the doll, and the reverse bear trap mask, basically got them the movie deal. I've always loved the Saw movies, and now knowing the behind the scenes of the first film, I love them even more. People, including myself, think, what would I do in this situation? It's one of the main reasons why the movie has such legs and has endured so much. I got to see the first Saw movie in the theaters when I was 15 years old. It was one of the first horror movies I saw in theaters and has definitely influenced my writing. One of my books has a chapter that was inspired by it. Tales from Adventure 3, The Torture Chamber, which you can watch here, is taken from that book. You can watch the other 2 if you want, but you can also just jump right in and watch this one first, especially if you're a Saw fan. You'll get it. So while Jigsaw himself may not be a real person who kidnaps and tortures people for a game, Saw isn't entirely made up. It's built upon very real stories and history which only add to the eerie brutality the movies are known for. It just goes to show how talented James Wan and Leigh Whannell are, and how brilliant a film Saw is. Gore in subsequent films may have overshadowed the initial message, but the first movie is an amazing, slow burn descent into utter terror, and has rightfully earned its acclaim within the horror genre. Saw fun facts. Leigh Whannell, Saw writer and co-creator, played Adam in the first Saw movie. Leigh Whannell and James Wan are also the creators of the Insidious movies. James Wan is also behind The Conjuring and Megan. Leigh Whannell and James Wan thought producers Greg Hoffman, Oren Koules, and Mark Berg, who said yes to making Saw and giving them everything they wanted in their first Hollywood meeting, were joking with them. Whannell and Wan didn't think the producers actually wanted to make the movie with them. They were wrong. The 3 of them are still the main producers of the franchise to this day. Leigh Whannell and James Wan had 3 story ideas before they landed on the Saw idea. The first being 2 guys locked in a room, which became Saw. The second was about a guy whose soul leaves his body when he sleeps, and he astral projects into another dimension. This idea became Insidious. Then the third was an idea like Paranormal Activity, which they did not make, but they did work with that director, Oren Peli, to make Insidious. Wan did not intend to make a torture porn film, and the script only had 1 short segment of torture. He said the film played out like a mystery thriller. It was not until the sequels that the plot focused more on torture scenes. The movie actually has a good message. Enjoy every day of your life. Jigsaw wants you to survive and thinks you'll be a better person for it. They only filmed the first Saw movie in 1 location, Lacey Street Production Facility in Los Angeles. It had everything they needed, and the only set that they had to build was the bathroom set, and they didn't have to change locations. which helped tremendously with their low budget. They only had 18 days to film and finished the film 2 days before the Sundance Film Festival. James Wan made the creepy doll, Billy the Puppet, which Whannell had to bring over from Australia. The reverse bear trap that was used in the original short was fully operational. What was the first horror movie you saw in theaters? Does it hold up? When was the last time you saw it? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what other horror movies or books you'd like to know the story behind their story.